Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Hello? We are live. Everyone who can hear me, can you please write on the chat if you can hear me? Text on the chat now. Sorry, unfortunately, you won't be able to see me. This is Arpita here. I do not have electricity. You won't be able to see me. So Anudeep will be joining us in 5 to 10 minutes. Till then, I will get our guest on board and introduce you to our very own industry expert tonight, Harish.
Hey, hi everyone. How are you guys
Hi,
doing?
Harish.
Hey, hi.
Hi.
So yeah,
Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to Growth School's industry expert call with Harish Mycharla.
yeah, it's a little.
Everyone who can hear us and see us, please say hi on the chat. Say hi on the chat, people. Everyone who can see us.
Anand says hi. Yeah, it's little weird, like I'm seeing myself and talking. I can't see even see
Yeah,
you.
so unfortunately, I don't have electricity, or this would have gone very smoothly.
Yeah,
Once
yeah,
Anudeep joins, it will be pretty smooth flowing from there.
yeah.
Everyone, so
Hey,
before we begin, and before Anudeep joins us, let's just get to know Harish a little bit in that time, right? And everyone who is watching, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. All right? All right, Harish. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us what you're doing now, what current space you are in, and talk a little bit about yourself. Let the audience know.
yeah, sure. So you guys are aware that I currently work as a senior UX designer at Honeywell right now. So I'll just walk backwards from Honeywell. So I've been in this space for about like close to 5 years now. So and I'm currently working with Honeywell and I'm dealing on a platform called machine learning. So basically we are trying to automate offline systems of plants and other stuff like buildings and etc. So Honeywell is into building, into the business of building management systems and plan management systems, etc. So we are trying to build an automated system, how we can leverage machine learning in terms of how can we get valuable data and like make plan self sufficient to run its own models, like help with the help of data and etc. So I'm working on that. What do you say? Like to be frank, it's like a um, little technical, and I'm still trying to like figure out
Right.
the terms of it. So moving backwards from Honeywell, I was working before this. I was working as a product design consultant with Amazon for about like 1 year, 11 months or so.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so I was working as like for a good period of 1 year, 11 months, and I was like part of like I actually worked alongside Anudeep on the same team. I worked for Amazon. I worked for Amazon Pay, and
Oh,
before that,
great.
yeah. So before that, I was also like working with a couple of before that, I was working with multiple agencies, like design agencies, I would say. So I was working with uh, Net Brahma Studios, Inconic, and F1 Studios to be precise. And they two of them are based out of Bangalore and one is based out of Hyderabad. And one handles like what do you say, like a core enterprise B2B designs, and the other agencies like are open for startups and stuff like that. So in short, and I also worked for another small startup for a good period of 3 months time as a design consultant for a 3 months time. That was like very initial stages of my career, right? So to begin with, I began I started as a engineer. So I was a chemical engineer by education. I graduated in 2016 from an IT Calicut.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, but then right after my college. I had to like get into design. So I don't. One thing I'm very sure about back in college is like I don't want to be a chemical engineer. But
Right.
then and I was trying to explore new stuff, and I also know that I can't write a single line of code, so I can't be a developer as well. So I was just figuring out alternatives. Then I had a little
So
touch
how
in
did
photo.
this? So tell us about how did this switch happen? This
Yeah,
switch from engineering to design.
I told you, right? So I just figured out by understanding and fixing like what not to do rather than what I have to do.
Right.
I'm not really sure that I have to be a designer back in college. No, I have no idea about that. In fact, I don't even know that there's something called design and then you can do a lot about it. I don't know anything of that sort. All I know is like I don't want to be a designer. And then I was part of photography, like a media club in back in college. So I've got some hands-on experience with design tools like Photoshop, Illustrator, and stuff like that. So I just learned the tools first, like a very basic minimum level tools, and then I started exploring like if I need a job, like where else I can do, what else I can do, what all streams I have. I started exploring stuff. I came to know there's something called business development executive. There's something else, and there's
Yeah.
something called design as well, right? So and then I thought like, okay, maybe, and then I've read like multiple job descriptions to figure out what is the common things that really needed for you to land the first job. It's all like it's like I figured out on the go, right? I never had it sorted before. So once I stepped into design, I thought like I worked for a very initial growth startup, like a big data startup. So I was just making some basic infographics and some illustration related stuff there. But then what happened is like I just realized that uh, so after that, so I just quit the company, and then while I was working on that company, my manager was kind enough to offer me explore anything that I wanted to study or learn, right? So
That is
actually,
really nice. We
yeah,
all
and she
should get managers like that.
yeah, she actually gave me a saying like if you want to like improve yourself in anything else, like what do you like, I can offer you some education, like what is it, like, I can help you like pay something on company's behalf and stuff like that, right? So that's where actually I came to know there's something called UX, and I started going through and reading multiple stuff about UX, like articles, blogs, reading
Right.
about companies, job descriptions, etc. And then
That is great.
yeah, I was trying to map it to myself, and yeah, that's how the transition started. So I've taken an online course. I'm a IDF member, Interaction Design Foundation member. So
Right.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah, so yeah, it's pretty much I told you, right? It's on the go. Like I have no idea. Even if now I have no idea like what else I could do on top of it. But down the lane when I started working, I came to understand that this is something which is really comfortable for me to work with.
Right.
Because yeah, it was more related to my personality traits rather than something like a new skill that I had to learn for, right? So that's how it
Correct.
helped me. Yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. That is great. I think there are a lot of
yeah,
engineers out there who started off with engineering, like a lot of aspiring engineers also right now who probably are going into the field of engineering and are unsure. Like, see, there is ray of hope even after college,
yeah,
right? We get to see a direction that comes for us. It can be design, it can be anything. It's different things for different people. But there's always your true inclination towards something always reflects in your abilities to solve problems or your key features, right? Your key characters, your key
yeah,
characteristics as a person really do define your skill set, right? And so, how do you think, Harish, that you said that you worked with agencies and you also
yeah,
worked with a lot of companies and startups, right? So,
yeah.
how do you think it is different from each other? Like, what are the differences between the agency side and the startup side? Like, how do you think these
Yeah.
companies work and run?
So So again, right? So getting into agency itself is also like what is it? Not planned thing for me. So initially, before joining an agency, I started working for a product design as a consultant for a small startup. But then I was like relatively sorry. I can like. Do you hear echo?
Is it still there?
Not now. Yeah. Thank you. So as I was saying, right, I worked as a product design consultant for a brief period of 3 months, and I was relatively new into the field, and I need somebody to validate my processes or actually, right? So, and that validation is very much needed for me in the initial stages of my career, right? Because I've read
Right,
something, I had the theoretical knowledge, but in practice, when I've put I need really hands-on experience. That's where I started like to just begin with. So I have two options after that. Either I have to like do a formal education to validate myself, or the closest I could get into like is to get into a start like a agencies or something, like a design. So basically, where agencies can actually advocate about design, where design comes first, and then because you when you get into the product construct, there are a lot of things of like feasibility, like things will work or things will not work, stuff like that. And then that's too much of a confusion for me in the initial stages of my career, how to balance the requirements of the tech, the
right,
product, and stuff like that, right? So
right.
I seek something like a validation in the initial stages of my career, and that's when I've started applying for multiple agencies, and then I've got through Netbrahma Studios, and that period was like very much important for me, as I would say, like that's like a turning point of my career where I've learned so much during that period, right? So
Right, right. I
so
think
yeah,
agencies, do you think agencies in general are a little bit more fast paced or
yeah.
startups are more fast paced?
So again, right? So if we really have to talk about fast paced, yeah, both of them are agile in their own way. I'll tell you what the difficult part of agency, right? So the difficult
Right,
part of agency is like you need to quickly learn and unlearn things. So by unlearn things, I meant like 1 week or 1 month I used to work on a project of educational technology, and the next moment I have to like unlearn everything I have learned, and I have to start learning about cloud computing. So that's how
right,
agile in terms of product experience you have to get it from agencies, right? So,
right,
so, so if I have to explain in short, in the 10, 11 months brief period of mine, during that during my period in Netbrahma Studios, I've worked over like 11 plus digital products. So that means like 1 month, one product.
right.
So it's very agile, right? In that way, the design processes, the validation, like and working with awesome people who are like um, that's the best part in the agencies, right?
I
So
can imagine.
hey, and so
Yes,
yeah,
so awesome. I think that is a really great point you brought up that there, Harish. Your
yeah,
unlearning and learning experiences through these agile methods and different processes. I think this is a great takeaway for what we always talk about is the non-textbook approach, right, guys? You try to take problems in a way that you can solve them very easily without focusing on the end goal, right? Only on focusing on the fact that you want to solve it. And no process, no method is going to be important that time. It
yeah.
is just your problem solving capabilities. Awesome. So now that Anudeep is here, I am going to hand over the baton to him.
Okay, somebody asked what is an agency. Basically, agency is another name for design studio. So basically, design studios are a group of designers in a studio setup who works on multiple projects brought by the business over there. So,
Awesome.
Hey, hey,
Thank you so
hey.
much, Harish, for sharing that.
hey, Anudeep.
Okay, I'll take over. Thank you very much.
Hey, Anudeep.
so,
Long
so I
time.
think have spoken about introduction, might be now.
Yeah. I
But
just
yeah,
spoke about introduction.
so welcome from my side. Already done Harish OP. Did everyone welcome Harish? Yeah? Did
Yeah.
Harish OP on the chat, everyone? Awesome, awesome. So great. So I see a lot of people asking about agencies, design agencies, and things like that. Maybe you might have spoken a little bit into it, but Harish, can you in product company with Amazon? We were like teammates. Everyone knows. Yeah, we both work there.
Yeah.
So at Amazon, Honeywell, is the difference between product company and then let's discuss how is design different. But how design is different, just the differences which two, right?
Sorry, I lost you between. Can you repeat again? Hello?
Uh, a product company and a service company or like an agency, whatever you're talking about, if you can explain the
Yeah.
differences first,
Yeah.
and then let's look at how design is
So
done
yeah.
differently at
So
both
to
spaces.
begin with, right? So what is a product company and what is an agency, right? So agency does a part of what product designers do, but the thing is like they don't see the end of the tunnel. So if I, for example, I'll tell you. So if I work with a product company, so I would, let's say, work on a particular feature, right? So I would be able to involve myself in terms of the product. I would get some pre research information, and also like I would be able to understand the users. So the product companies gives me a scope of understanding the users, talking and doing some research, and then like building something and then quickly testing. So it completes the cycle of so basically I would say product companies give you a scope of validation for your design, whereas agencies, I would not say it is that possible, at least to my experience, because we get some requirement and we deliver some designs, and then what happens is like sometimes like if it's ask again from the business that we need to like do a validation and then like stay over there like and to validate the results and then like move forward. If not, what we usually do is like we end up sharing some designs and then they start building it. And after that, if there is any feedback that has come up after, for my design, probably that would not happen in an agency scenario, right? Because maybe the business must have been like over. I mean, this deal must have been closed, or they should come back again. Whereas in product, it's very approachable. Whereas you are an in-house designer, where you can take feedback and then like validation can happen. So in a way, it completes the cycle. So that is one of the key difference. And second thing is like I would mention, right, the length and breadth of the projects that you do, right? So in a product company, I mean, as for example, if it's a company like huge company like Amazon, yeah, you have different verticals. Um, like you have different verticals like payment side, which I was working, and then you have booking categories, you have and you have e-commerce, you have a lot of other stuff, right? So probably a huge company like Amazon and other MNCs can actually give you a chance to work across multiple verticals. But let's say if you work on a small startup, which is still a product company, then the so you would not be able to like work too much out of the product, but you would be able to learn like everything in detail about the product. Whereas in agencies, it's like as I mentioned, it's like quickly on learning and learning stuff. Like you have to work on multiple projects. That means you need to really on your toe. So if you should be sometimes working on stuff which you don't really know about. You have to do some research, understand the product, and understand the problem statement, and then try to solve for the users. So these are some of the key challenges I would say, right? So yeah. You guys hear me? Anudeep, you there? Okay. Somebody is asking, can I name some agencies? Yeah, you can check for Lollipop. NetBrahma Studios, Inconic, F1 Studios. There are multiple. You can just type design studios in Bangalore and you'll get like loads of them. So, okay. I'll take some questions. Anupam Sharma has asked, like, for internship, would you recommend an agency or product companies like Amazon or Google, etc.? Um, I would say if you like really need an internship really quick, apply for agencies. There you get a lot of scope of getting through, and then like try to learn also from other peers. Whereas companies like Amazon and Google, etc., I don't really see much. So usually entry level designers are like hardly found in Amazon, I mean, especially, and other product companies, right? They would expect some level of experience. So getting into an internship in agencies would be much easier, or maybe some decent product startup with one or two designers, especially when you're by internship, it means that you're beginning your career, and that would be easy for you to get through. So, yeah.
Thank you, Harish. Thank you for taking over. There were some technical issues that we were facing with the internet. I am having electricity issues. Sorry for the inconvenience, guys. Really sorry. Anudeep is back here and clear as ever. Awesome.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So, very bad internet today, power problems, a lot of problems. But yeah, as designers, we always love problems. So, so great. But yeah, I was following what you were saying, Harish. Um Great. So, Harish, as I know, Harish, you have like a very, very interesting journey. You know, uh, I don't know if you have already spoken, and maybe you just gave a small introduction about yourself, but how did your transition look like? Like, I think you have done your engineering background, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So,
I'm chemical engineer.
no. So, what I want, maybe what you can tell is, as much as possible, how much ever can you relate with people who get started, right? Who have no direction, who have no idea what to do, or things like, all of us were like that. You were like that, I was like that, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people are willing to listen to that story from a person who is like no idea about things, and then doing well now, creating impact at Amazon and Honeywell and all these things. So, what are those things which actually made you realize that you can actually things
Yeah.
can work out over here, right? So, please give your view into that.
So yeah, as I told you, right? So this is all like sorted on the go type. So I am not really sure that I have to become a designer right from the beginning, right? I
Correct.
had no clue, and in fact, that's I don't know if it's a bold step or a stupid step back then. People must have thought I'm crazy, like doing design. And people were like, "What design? Like, is there anything like that?" And people know that how least creative I am back then those days, and like me being a designer, like, what do you even do? So that's how it is, right? So, but then so the
Correct.
thing here is, I'll tell you what. So I was just researching my own way. Like I have to I just need a job. Let's see if I want to get a job after my college. Just for my mother to say that my son's 4 years of engineering in a top-notch college didn't end well.
Correct.
So just to avoid that, I was like trying to like figure out, okay, if I have to get a job, like what all possible things I can do, right? So like I was just having a check on different platforms. Like I have started looking out for jobs in startups and also different domains, right? And one thing I'm sure that I don't want to become an engineer, like a chemical engineer, and I can't become a developer as well, because I don't really know how to write a single line of code. So I all I can write is like hashtag include istdio.h. That's the only thing. Apart from that, I have no clue. My So that's how it is, right? So I know what not to do. Then I was trying to explore stuff. So that's where I just came to know there is something called business, there is something called design, there is something else. So I was just reading these things, right? And I had a very strong gut feeling back then, thinking that design would be one of the strongest parallel, um, what do you say, emerging theme, like, or emerging stream, which is parallel to development and which is parallel to engineering and business. So that was my very strong gut feeling, because I see a lot of value in design by the way people are new back then, back those days, when the way people are talking about it. I felt I had a very strong gut feeling that this could be one of a very much very interesting and very emerging theme, that it would be like in parallel or in at level with business and engineering, right?
Correct.
And the other one is like very logical, like you see the transition happening from laptops and phones. So as long as you have digital devices in your hand, it's easy for a digital designer to survive. So I thought like, okay, it's validated. So then I got into design. So the journey was like, yeah, initially I had to struggle. I had to struggle to understand the terminologies. It's not that easy. So I had to like literally like search everything, thanks to like internet and Google all those days, right? I have to like literally search Wikipedia. I have to search everything. I have to see if I found, like, while I was reading something, if I found something new, I had to search that again. But it's all a journey in the end, and I enjoyed the process, right? So in my first job, I came to like, I was offered to study more in design as a part of the organization, and then I came to know there's something called UX. Then I had to quit the job, took that course as offline, prepared for like 1 2 months, and I thought like, let me put some practical experience, then get into another startup, work for 3 months, understand that I'm the only designer and you're in the initial stages. That means you need validation, so you need people who can help you out. So that's where I was looking out for design agencies. I worked for a design agency for like 11 months, 11 months, over 10 plus digital products. Then I was looking out, and then and like, I don't know, like the jobs that I'm getting are also again from design agencies. Probably they know, like, I don't know, like I was like that. It was like that. The second offer I got was again from a design agency, but then that was more of a B2B design agency. Like they handle enterprise products. So I thought like maybe working on an enterprise product would complete a cycle of B2B plus B2C design. So I thought I got into enterprise products, and then again I was like trying to look out for jobs, and then I came to know that, and then again I was offered another job from another agency. Lucky enough, even if the third company is an agency, I had an experience to work on a product design company for a good period of time as a like consultant, and that too client like Amazon. So that would be like really like, I would say like it completes my cycle of B2B, B2C, enterprise products, and then also like a product design experience. So in a way, I was like lucky enough, like I don't know, things have sorted on down the go. So I would say I was fortunate enough, right? And I've met right people at right times, and then learned from them. So yeah, I mean, and also right, in terms of projects, also I handle majority of my projects, like 80% of my projects are live, and that's like the best thing that can happen
Yeah.
to a designer who works on products. So my projects, like the ones I pick up, are like going live in the next 2 3 months. It was always like that, and I'm like fortunate enough. So my portfolio speaks, like I can just show my live projects and like
Yeah.
go have a look. So that's how it is. Like, I don't know. I mean, this is how
Yeah.
it is, right?
You can be like, you want my portfolio? Can you just
Yeah.
open that app? Can you just open this app as well?
I mean, that's how it
We
is,
are running
right?
out.
Even back in Amazon, you can
Yeah,
say like I've picked movies, and the movies was the ones the first, like that was first had to launch before buses or trains, right? So it
correct.
was like that. So I'm like fortunate. So in that case, I don't know. But yeah. So this is how it is, right? I mean, you love the uncertainty. I mean, there is definitely uncertainty when you start something new, but that's
Correct.
the essence of it, right? You keep trying to understand things, and definitely things will be familiar after some point of time. So yeah.
Got it. So that was very well put, Harish. So let me talk about one thing which yeah, I know you are like the right person for that, is about processes, right? Because you have seen processes in an agency, you have seen processes in a a company like Amazon, right now Honeywell and all, right? Um, Largely there is a misconception about processes that, hey, you know what, someone defined some 6 or 7 steps in for UX design, and we need to follow all steps or whatever. Like there are multiple misconceptions in terms of
Yeah.
uh, like sometimes a process is confused with a machine, right? I mean, basically when we try to solve problems, it is confused with a product actually going through a machine, following all those processes and coming out as a packaged product, right? So can you give the right perspective about design processes, and as starters, what should people do? As experienced people, what should people do? And how to use processes and how to not use processes? Yeah.
So yeah, again, right? So again, when you start in the initial days of your career, you hear a lot of terms, a lot of processes and stuff like that. The only thing that runs in your mind is like which works for what. So validation is very much needed, right? And in my first product startup, like that was my first product design experience, and I was working for a startup designing its first mobile Android application in Photoshop. So I was like really not sure of what to follow, what not to follow. I had theory, but I don't know which works or what, right? But luckily, it ended up well. It's like some common sense that helped in like to deliver the product. And after that's where I've like started like, okay, let me go into a design studio. At least what I can get it is so design studios have an atmosphere at least where design is given a first hand, right? Because what I've noticed back in product companies is like there are other stuff like business, there's other stuff like engineering coming in a picture, and it will still like make you but align or not align with your design. Whereas if you work for a design studios, you speak mainly for your design first, users first, and then probably because we're not into the product start construct, so we always think about users first, and then maybe the clients can come and then just give the insights of like should they put some like they might give their business a constraint and stuff like that. But how to use or when to use a process is something which it's not concrete to be say like there is no like a rule book where it says like you have to follow this or you have to follow like there's no set of rules, there is no step 1, step 2, step 3. Design is like uh, as I mentioned, like design is basically for reasonable people, right? So it's basically like it depends, right? If you're working for a small feature of a product, you might need not follow the whole process of like user research to final testing. But whereas if you are like working on a completely new project, so you need definitely research first to validate stuff, right? So it completely depends on the project that you're working on and the requirements that it's demanding, right? So so that's how you like have to validate yourself, like basically like what you need to understand what exactly is the requirement, and based on the requirement you should be able to like make a decision of what exactly is needed, what is not needed. So it depends. If you're working on a small feature, you have some pre-insights already, so you need to take them into consideration. So you might not do a primary research or a secondary research because you have some validations already. At that time, you might need to like do some tweaks in terms of UX and then go back to the users. So it's all it's all dependent on the problem statement, right? But if it's completely new, I'll give you an example. You have no idea who the users can be. So you really don't know whom to target. You just have certain users in mind. So all that time is like, at that point of time, all you have to do is like go back to the users, validate yourself. So that's when research comes to much prominence. So this is how it is, right? And like, again, as you mentioned, product companies, like the product has been built already and it has been built over years. So you need to understand what and why it has been built the way it has been. So you can't just some like if you're relatively new to a company, you can't just put all your thoughts saying like why can't it be this, like why can't it be that. So it's because you always have a counter story to that, like why it is the way it was, right? I still remember once Biju, like had was mentioning that why do we need sellers space on Amazon on a hamburger? And like, because we don't work on the seller space, right? And then suddenly somebody from seller product manager, he said like, if I have to move that button, it would give us some huge crores of loss in a week. So there are some reasons why certain things have been designed the way they are, right? So you just need to validate them, understand them, and then see what you can build on top of it. That is a key difference of working as a product designer versus working as a UX designer from an agency, right? In agency, it will be all like, I don't care. I care about my design, my users. You try to solve for them first, because you don't have a product manager sitting on top of your head saying like, I can't do it. But whereas in a product constraint, it's completely different. You have a lot of understand. You need to understand how the businesses work, how the products, what is the goal and stuff like that, right? So yeah. So this is how it is. So there is no concrete process, is what I would say. And this is how it is. I mean, if you ask any industry designer, it depends. If you need some better understanding about the user, if user research is not just enough, you have to do an empathy map, you have to do a user journey map, you have to see, you have to do a emotional map of like, or like how is he feeling about it and stuff. Like, you need to create your, probably you need to combine your empathy map and your IA and try to it's open to interpretation, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
so that's how it is.
Yeah. Right. Sometimes we have our own methods, like we mix few
Yeah,
things, we have our own understanding of how to do it, and we do it,
yeah, I mean,
right?
like,
So the core is to solve the problems, and the core is to solve the problems within the organization, within the what do you say, circumstances which you have there, right? So
and yeah, and one more key important thing, why we need process. Again, you might ask a question saying like, you're saying the process is not concrete and you don't have a rule set of which ones to follow, which ones is not follow. I agree completely, but you need process to validate back, right? You need at least a road. Whether you want to go on a right lane or a left lane depends on the way you have, like you have to drive, depends on the traffic. You need a road, right? You should not go out of your boundaries. So that's how exactly the process is about. The process keeps you validated, keeps you in your limits. So on top of that, you can. So if you have to challenge the process again, you might have to. You can, but then you need to have a backing of why you need to do that, right? So for example, like again, if I take example of road, I mean, if there is an emergency, it doesn't matter if it's a wrong route, you would go. So there are certain use cases where you might have to go off the process, but depends on the use case. So yeah, that's how it is. So
got it. Hello.
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So
People are asking my
so the option, sir,
people are
they're
asking my
asking about.
portfolio, my work
Yeah, I think
and stuff.
maybe sometime you should share, or maybe whatever share, give them guidance about what it is, because the main thing is understand. Hey, if Harish was like that in his first portfolio was like that, then yeah, maybe I also have a chance, right? So,
You see,
but anyway,
I can show my present portfolio,
okay.
but
So
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, so this is the obvious next thing we're talking about is portfolio. And after that, we'll see about beginner projects and all, to solve chicken and egg problem of uh, designers, UX design roles. But before that, so we need to also clear, Harish. I know that you want to clear this concept around what goes in a portfolio versus. Um, okay, I have to put it properly because it's a live session. Uh,
Yeah,
we see a lot of
take your time.
portfolios coming today, which have synthetic processes, right? I mean, the process wasn't even needed, or there was a process kept just because a portfolio, someone told that in a portfolio you need to show something like card sorting or something, right? Or some mind map or something. We
Yeah,
see synthetic processes coming up in portfolios, right? Now, but yeah, that's not how real problems are solved, right? But what's the balance? Like, there are also some designers who are like, hey, you know what, in my company, they don't follow any of these process and all. There was like, I had a discussion with a product guy or a CEO or whatever, and we got this idea and we started designing things on the screens. And then if I want to show that, then I don't get any jobs because my portfolio doesn't have any research and all these things. So I'll have to synthesize all these steps,
Yeah.
right? So, Harish, how do you break this? Like, because of course I keep telling a different story, but yeah, I want to hear your take on this, right?
So
How do you break this? Do you have to fake it till you make it, or can you do something better about it?
so
Yeah.
yeah. So I would just talk from the perspective of somebody who is actually viewing your work, right? And so the thing is, when you say something, when you mean it, and when you mean it, that means when you have done it. So so there's a different way of communication, right? And you have done something for the sake of doing it. That's another thing and another thing, right? And industry experts right now these days are really smart, man. You can't just really like fake them out, right? They understand. So why do you think after doing kick-ass presentations, after doing a kick-ass project and portfolio, people don't still get hired? Why do you think? Because they understand, right? So if and I'm not saying you're completely faking it. So you just need to know, like, so you need to say them like what you've done, and it's okay if it's too less. It's fine. My portfolio has only 3 products. I have worked for over 25 digital products. My portfolio have only 3. So so the initial beginning call itself is like usually what happens in industry is like they take like 30 minutes call, I would say. They just ask you to explain your 3 months, 4 months, 1 year the project in 30 minutes. And if you start explaining things, you start explaining what a card sorting is, start explaining what a mind map is, just to understand and like them like just to make them understand that you know stuff and jargons, it won't work, right? So they just so it's very layman in nature the way it happens. I know everybody has. I mean, I know UX has a lot of processes. They wanted to see your process as much as it is, but above that, like they wanted to see how you communicate the solution, the value of design, right? So so that's exactly what you're trying to show. You're trying to show that you have done something, you solved some problem, and you're trying to communicate the value of your solution, right? And that can't happen, and you need to keep it in a layman terms, right? So I'll tell you what. So if you so my design agency's like say head of design, he would sometimes say like if this design is understood by your mother, it's okay, then you're good to go. So you can't just go to your mom and say like I've done mind mapping, I've done empathy, I have done card sorting. It doesn't really matter. She doesn't care. Users doesn't care what process you do. Just they just see your design and they say like it's usable or not, right? So so the value of communication, like so the value of communication is very much like needed. I wanted to emphasis on that, right? So you need to communicate the value of design on the solution that you've brought up to. And yeah, everybody wants the backstory, but not everybody. Again, if you somebody wanted to, so if somebody said the how pattern of somebody hiring you happens is like they try to understand what problems you've solved, and they see some value in some project. That's where they would ask some more details on that, right? So they just don't like, you can't just simply go and like talk about all the experiences. You can't just simply like add things for the sake of it. It doesn't really matter, right? A few movies who are like over 3.5 hours are super bored because they have to force feed that. And few movies are like I would say some Ram Gopal Verma movies are like, since it has to be dragged, it has to be dragged for a 3 hour movie. And movies like Bahubali, it doesn't really matter if it's 3.5 hours, people go watch it. So that's how it is, right? So I would say like it's okay not to put a lot of processes in your project if you haven't used them, utilized them. It is okay. You can talk more about what you worked on and what is your experience on that. it's okay. Instead of one project, one big project, if you worked on two small projects, it's okay to talk about that. But you need to make sure that you were involved in the process of designing, and they should understand that you were involved. You provided some value for the solution. If that is how it is, I think um, any portfolio with less or more processes will go through. It's just that if you've done it, you show it. So yeah, that's what I say, because they keep asking questions which you haven't done, and then it is very much understandable. I told you, right? If you feel something when you talk, that's a different story, and if you try to learn, it's different. And designers, these are like recruiters, they are very smart these days. They give you, they go off topic, they make you very comfortable, and then that's where the real problem starts. If you become really comfortable, you talk about what you've done, but then you show something else. That's where they'll catch you. So that's how it is. So
Got it.
yeah,
So, uh, yeah, that's wonderfully put, Harish.
yeah,
Uh, so now coming to the perspective of beginners, right? That's what people have been also asking here. Um, how do I start, right? What do I do about these dummy projects? How much do they help? What do I do? Because yeah, the problem exists, unfortunately, for our industry. It is, people are willing to look at your problem solving skills, be it a real project or a dummy project, but how do you go about it? So, Harish, I know that you mentor a lot of people, and so you have your own fan base of students and all, so who might also be watching this call.
I don't know.
Any students, fans, say Harish fan or on the chat.
Hey, hey, what fan? No fan, man. Seriously,
But
I have
yeah,
friends who are watching. Okay, they're gonna they're gonna screw my
they
happiness up.
know what you now. But yeah, so, but yeah, what's your advice on how do you get started? How,
Hmm.
what is valued? So a lot of people take up this. It is established that you do dummy projects. That is fine, but how do you select a good problem statement? What do you do? What kind of work do you put into it? What is the focus you need to do things on? Can you speak a little bit into this, Harish?
Sure. So yeah, again, right? So it's I don't really, it's the same thing. It's like the chicken egg problem. If you, so it's again the same. If I have to put in industry experiences, right? Like if you need to get a job, you need an experience. And to get an experience, you need a job. So how does this thing never works, right? So the thing is, you just need to be like. um so the thing is, I'll tell you how I've got my first job. Okay, and somebody have asked me what is my first portfolio. My first portfolio is nothing but some few posters. That's it. I've done some Photoshop stuff back in college. Those are my first portfolio, and that too not placed well. Us time pe there is no portfolio as such. Show me some of your work. That's it. And there is no framework of how you have to do define your process and stuff. That's not there. So I've just showed that I know some tools and all that, but then it depends like what makes you connect to the company or the person that's hiring you, right? So my first company guy, he offered me a job because of my bold move from engineering to design. That's what he said. Like, so he said like, and I was like, okay. I mean, I didn't know that I could get the job for that, because that was like it was a very good start for me, right? Like somebody validating my bold move, saying and like patting. It's like a pat on the back types. Like you doing engineering in a very top notch college and then moving into design is something which is so that's so basically he was he's a very senior guy. He's a ex VP of Gartner. So and he had his own startup, right? And that guy knows how to hire, and he has seen a lot of people. So he hired from looking basically about personality traits of a person. So personality traits is like the way a person reacts to a problem, the way he thinks, the way he approaches stuff, right? Rather than skills at that point of time. So for so this is my few cents on the first project. What I would say is like pick up some project which uh, don't pick up something which you want to like impress others. because that is not going to work, right? If see, you need to be like a little genuine. You are doing a bold move. You're switching between agencies or organizations or past, or like you're switching between your career options. So you need to show that you've done it because you wanted it. And for that, you pick up some project which you really think is adding some value to you. By that, what I meant is like, so you should actually pick up a project which you feel is more relatable to you. Like, for example, you are using some application or you're using some like you wanted to go like let's say some problem in your daily life, right? And all they see is about again the approach that you've done rather than the process, and you can explain it better only when you actually experience the problem. You like I would say for the first time, you be your own user for the product, try to solve your own problem, but you actually again you need to like switch between the roles. So you can pick a project for you from like you being a user, and then solve for users similar to you. You can go off and you can start exploring more, like understanding more about other users, other user patterns and stuff like that, right? So it's just that to get in your first job, I would say your skill set is important. I'm not denying completely your skill set is important. It's not important. I'm not denying that. It's just that it's more about the personality and the need of getting into it, right? Like need of doing design. That's very much important. But that's how I've like ended up my first one. And I feel like personality traits are some because majority of the people, I'll just give you a small example, right? Especially in terms of Indian industries and stuff. So people think this cat exams, this IIM exams are too tough. The industry like exams are tough. That is one. Why is exam? Why can anybody like? Did anybody think like why is it tough, right? And why is the interviews are tough? So basically, what the recruit and one of my friend who was actually writing the exam, and he was an ex IIM Calcutta guy. So he was telling that all the guys who interviews you during the interview, they just looked at whether you're gonna survive the 2 years or not. So that's the major thing, right? So how do you survive? Like, so you only survive if you are like willing to do that, right, for the next 2 years of your life. The same way, the company guys also see like, will you be able to survive or handle the pressure? If it's a startup, will you be able to handle the pressure? Will you have a like mindset? Are you okay to get up in the night and do something which is needed? And MNCs will moreover look like, are you streamlined? Like, do you know how to communicate to larger folks? Is your documentation strong enough? So even when you're not there, your work speaks. So these are different things, right? So choose your projects according to what you can offer to the company, and then I think things will fall into place. So yeah.
Great. Makes sense, right? Also, we'll there are some attached questions to it, Harish. We'll get to that.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah, there are few people asking questions and saying like, can you answer the questions in the chat? I missed them. I can't scroll. I don't know, but you can ask some
After
of the questions.
10:30, we'll do that. So by 10:30, your questions, direct questions to you, we kind of open, then we can answer questions on the chat. Uh, but yeah, so Harish, um, as I said, the attached question. Um, okay, just lost my mind actually.
It's
Went out of
okay,
my.
bro.
What were we talking? I was just looking at the questions. Anyway, no worries. Uh, yeah, the projects, right? Okay, got it. So, so when you said about picking the right projects, there are a lot of people who aim for big companies. As you said, like, hey, if it is startups or agencies, they look at these things. It is like bigger companies like Amazon, Google, and all. They kind of look at these kind of things. So a lot of people, usually, I've seen a lot of people getting attracted to these big companies and big names, right? And wanting to try them at like the first shot or whatever. While these companies typically look in skills with, okay, have you dealt anything with impact? as a something previously or not, right? Now, what is your opinion about what
Yeah.
a good thing to start off with? Like, how do you think you should start your design career according to you? Everyone's opinion might be different.
Yeah, totally right. So it depends. I'll give you use cases. If you are a guy who's beginning to work as a UX designer in your career, so let's say one, you have a educational background, you've right off your college, and then you wanted to work, and then second, you don't have any educational background. You were like doing something else. You had done attended few courses, and then you wanted to switch. So which ones is more important, right? So obviously, the added advantage in the initial stages of your career is for the students who right after the college who has learned and studied design. So definitely they have an added advantage over those who are just recently switched between and they don't have a formal education, right? So obviously at that point of time, if a recruiter have to even, so this is my own theory that I had told myself when I started applying companies, right? So this is my own theory, right? So I'll just tell you how I've thought. So I thought like initial stages of my career, I thought like somebody has to give me a job. So why would they give me? I am a designer. I'm not a design student. I am an engineer by education. And then, so obviously, it's very obvious if somebody has to recruit somebody who's a fresher, you need to offer so much more to the job as a non-design student rather than a design student to get like so much more. That so much more is what I talk about. What as a personality trait, your personality traits should match the company that is expecting. And then after down the lane, what I've thought, like after working few years, like 1 year or something, I thought like maybe I might not be a design student by education, but now me and him both are working. So he worked on some company, I was working. After 1 year of experience, I thought like let me go into a design studio. So at the end of 2 years, I would be a designer working, like I would be a designer who had experience working for like over 5 to 10 plus digital products, whereas the other person who worked for a product company had an experience of one digital product. That's how I was like, I was very, what is it? Like I was like very much like in terms of the volume I wanted to do it, like anything, right? I like I do tasks as of my like own projects. If I start applying companies, I do tasks as if they are the projects I'm handling, right? And I've given my 100% to all the tasks and never just failed because I can reuse it again. So it's just not the work that is always needed. I would say there is something more that is a company expecting. So even if a work is good, why would there be a HR round in the final, right? Because they would be seeing if you're aligning with the company or not. To the question of whether it's a small company or a big company, it's tricky, like I'll tell you how industry is there right now. So I'll just give you an example of Amazon. Amazon doesn't hire entry level designers. So correct me if I'm not wrong. I mean, things might have changed after I quit, but
It's
Amazon
all
doesn't
your
hire.
opinion. So, sorry.
Yeah.
It's
So
all
Amazon
your opinion. Sorry.
Yeah. So Amazon doesn't hire, to my knowledge, a entry level designer, right? So there are like still there is a transition happening in terms of design. For example, if you take a developer or somebody like a developer or a business guy, they have entry level internships and entry level jobs coming from big companies because they go and hire people from the colleges, right? If you are a business guy, you are in a fresher to a business, they would direct. So the entry level jobs, usually big companies, they go to some big colleges or some colleges which have some education background in terms of business or engineering, and then they would hire the people and they will uh, like nurture them over the years and stuff like that. Whereas in design, it's still happening. The people like design education, especially as a bachelor's or a master's degree, is still transitioning. Is what I felt. It's not that obvious. I mean, it has changed tremendously and immensely over the years. Like back 4 years back, I was strong enough. I was confident enough. Like okay, even if I don't have a design education, I can still be fine. But these days, there are colleges that have popped up like MIT, NID, people like that. So there are companies who look for them, but it doesn't matter, man. Seriously, it's okay down the lane. And I would say like to my personal experience, it would be nicer if you work for a what do you say, like a larger MNC after a few years of your with some experience, some work experience, like after 5 6 years, if you can just go and like chill in MNC, then 5 6 years of your career, right? Just do whatever you can, right? Like you will be so agile, you wanted to work. But so, to be frank, MNC slows down that a bit. Like if you're a beginner designer and if you go to an MNCs, everything is sorted, man. Like to some extent, things go a little off pace. Whereas if you go for a startup in initial stages of career, you feel so excited. You you see immediate validation and worth. So, for example, you build some product, you can just quickly go into a room of like your co-founder or somebody, and you can explain, and then it might get validated by them building it like in 2 weeks time. So you can just offer so much. So I would say initially, if you really wanted to learn so much in short time, work for startups or like agencies, and this experience will definitely help you when you go back to MNCs, right, down the lane, like after a few years, things are sorted. So you already seen the worst of like working on a fast-paced environment. So it's okay for you to go back to MNCs and like do it, right? So that's what I would say. Like initial stages of your career, it would be nice to pick agencies or early stage startups. You get to learn a lot. I'm not saying MNCs don't offer that, but MNCs, it's a little streamlined compared to others. Again, it's open to perception. So if you guys really need something comfortable, yeah, go for it. But I told you, right? So Amazon companies of that sort, they don't usually offer internships and stuff like that. So,
Awesome, awesome. So that was a good perspective, Harish.
yeah,
So yeah, Harish also basically has given you a direction, but still leaves you at a spot where, hey, you know what, you can decide for yourself.
yeah, definitely. I
I
mean,
usually strong in a direction, but
sorry,
yeah,
you
no,
usually
that everyone's perception.
you have a different perception,
Sorry.
is what you said.
No, 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 no. In the same direction, I'm just very strong about starting in smaller companies and basically working for bigger companies at later stage. Mainly because in smaller companies, you get to do a lot, right? Uh, your impact can be seen, and since the impact is a little small, it gives you space for doing mistakes, and we all learn from mistakes. Right? And as beginners, what is more important than being able to do mistakes and companies being able to give you that space for doing some mistakes, right? And learning
Totally.
very fast,
That's that's
right?
a
In bigger
very well put
companies,
thing. Yeah,
right? In bigger companies, the impact is huge.
yeah,
Small change gives a lot of impact. Small mistake gives a huge business loss, right?
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's there. So you
right.
can
So,
do, yeah, that's a very well thing, right? That's one more thing, yeah, I would have added. But yeah, the impact is huge. I mean, if
correct.
you want to make so many mistakes, better go for smaller companies. I mean, I'm not saying you go and make mistakes over there, but you can learn quickly from them. And the only thing is like, if you do something, the validation happens soon compared to agencies, right? Like, I mean, sorry, big companies. Big companies, if you
Correct.
do something and if you have to see it live and then test it out and have things to happen and get the validation, it would take some months time. Whereas in small companies, it's so quick, it's very responsive. Like you do something and within few weeks of time, you can get validated out of that. So that gives you a lot of scope to like try out new things. So yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, that was very good. So now what we'll do, Harish, is we'll quickly go through some of the questions which have come up in the chat over here. And yeah, and as we keep answering the questions on the chat, people will keep putting.
Sure, sure.
So yeah, spend some 10-15 minutes on that. So uh, if you've already answered that, you can skip it, Harish.
No,
You
I
can
have,
say, hey, please.
yeah, sure. I've changed my career from fashion design to UX, UI, and having problems getting any job suggestions. If a career change can cause problems in the industry. Having problems getting a job.
Any suggestions
Any suggestions if
can
a
cause
career can?
problems in this industry for getting?
No, I wouldn't say. I mean, I'll tell you what. Design is open. To be frank, like you getting a design job is much easier comparative to other industries. In the sense, like I'm not saying this is what I feel. This is my perspective, right? Anybody can be a designer. So it's more like a personality trait thing, like this design. So for example, if any job has two things, one is your personality and your the way you think and all that, and then another is the skill set. So I would say in a job like design, your personality, your thought process, your common sense, and your reason to validate and not validate, these way more comparative to the skills of like processes, tools, and stuff like that. Whereas in terms of engineering and stuff like that, you need to be like equally important. You need enough skill as well. Whereas design, you can still think, work, you can still learn new tools every day. A new tool is coming. People are using Photoshop back in those days. Now they're using Figma, and tomorrow something else comes. So and it's very easy for you as a designer to learn skills, but the more important thing is like to think like a designer, right? To think like is a designer is basically like to question things, understand, be reasonable. So that's all something which is really important. So I would not say that career change in this industry is causing the problem. Probably you need to like look out for easy ways to get in, like an internship or few small startups. So you can refer to companies like agency, like job offering portals like Angel List and stuff like that. So initially, you just be open about things, try to get in first, and then down the lane you just sort things. Like you understand at least if you get in, what worse can happen. You would understand like what not to do at least, right? So I would just say you begin with that. So and yeah, and your transition from fashion design to UX and UI. See, I am from engineering, man. I'm chemical engineering to UX, and you have become, and you are from fashion design. At least you have design in your degree, like fashion design. I have nothing. So I think it is. If I could do it, probably you could do as well. Just don't lose hope. Don't question. Now that you've transitioned, you've changed your career. Don't question back. Just try improvising things. It's not easy. Like
Totally.
yeah,
Uh, a good dose of inspiration for Ishani.
yeah.
I hope she's that we picked her answer question. But
Yeah,
yeah, Ishani, there is one
respond back, Ishani. If you're okay with the answer, respond back. I would happy to see
so
some
Ishani,
validation.
it's um, write down why do you want to do UX design. Write that down. I'm telling you that will drastically change the whole the whole gamut of whatever you're trying to do to get a UX design job or whatever, right? Just write this, like sit for 2 3 hours, just write down why is that you want to do UX design, right? If you write a heartful answer and if that really works for you, I don't think anyone can stop you here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll just give you one. So by that, I'll tell you. By that, I reminded something, right? So initial days of my career, I used to apply for n number of companies. Like God knows what all companies I've applied for, right? And initial few calls, like I had the set of framework of validating why I've transitioned. I used to give this answer even somebody has asked, somebody has not asked. I used to tell them that I've transitioned because I wanted to do design for so and so reason. I've just mapped it with this. Like there is a traditional standard set of explanation that you used to give to people, and then there comes a question of why did you switch so much between companies, and I have to validate myself for that, right? And I completely agree that people say like you need to work for a company for like good period of time. You can't leave. That will not show like a good image on your portfolio or resume or something like that. I'm completely against the trend, man. Seriously, I have worked over 7 to 8 plus companies already in my five years of career. And the thing is, I have a reason why I have done it, right? I am a early stage guy, and if I start working on a company for so long, I get saturated. I wanted to do more. I have to like work on more number of projects, right? So you need to validate of why why do you think you fit for your user UX design? And there comes the third call. There comes they ask like you about your work, ask them to show you. That's all the technicality part of it. But the first two questions always somebody asks you is like, tell me about yourself. So you nail that first, and that will convert, I would say.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, thank you for that. So next, let's go to. So Ansh Tiwari here has a lot of questions, but all of those questions are boiling down to how do I start learning UX design, any website, training institute, and all these things. I think you're already on the channel
Growth school.
of an online institute
Yeah.
which offers things in learning UX design. You can check them out. But yeah, next we have uh, already covered about how to apply and all these things. Did we already cover about Behance? 1 second. So I'm showing something. So we usually put our portfolio on some platform, say Behance. How do you explain my process in the portfolio and show the work at the same time, right? First, you clarify about Behance and then tell about
Yeah.
how do you explain the process in a portfolio. Yeah.
So I would say Behance or Dribble or anything else. These are just a platform for you to like show your work, but that's not a framework for you to show your work. So don't get confined by the platform. Like just so Dribble allows you to put a shot.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you have to explain your whole process in one shot. That's impossible, right? So just don't get confined by the constraints of a platform. If it's a Behance,
That because they don't allow.
I've done all this. I have a Dribble account, I have a Behance account, but I had zero posts in Dribble, and all my Behance some photographs. That's it, some photography stuff. And if you want to see, that's my initial some stuff. But the thing is, a good PDF of few pages can do the job, which explains your process. So just don't get confined by, let's say I'm doing it in Behance, like how do I explain a process in the portfolio, right? So you are saying it yourself, like you are like confined by the Behance because you've put it in Behance, and then you are like having trouble. Then why even put it, right? So just try to do it in the form of a presentation, like a few slides of a PDF, export it, send it over. That should work. That should work. I have my all my initial portfolios are PDFs only. So yeah.
Can you give some view into how do you explain the processes? So lastly, I'll tell you one thing before Harish even answers is if you worked on a process, if you have solved a good problem, if you understood why at every step of the problem you're trying to solve, you wouldn't even be asking a question of how do I explain my processes. It becomes very straightforward because you've done it, right? The question you need to ask yourself last year is what problem am I solving? How did I solve that problem? And what process did I follow for the whole thing? Right? That is the right question you need to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Then understanding once I've done a project, then how do I explain all the process? It's a very straightforward thing. It's all about how you yourself tell the story, right? It's as
Yeah.
simple as that. But Harish, you can you confirm this? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just give an analogy to that. You said it right? You go watch a movie, right, last year. So when somebody comes, you go home and somebody asks you, how is the movie? Explain me the movie story. You wouldn't just say exactly the way the director has shown you the movie, right? You would say the way you have watched it, the way you understood it, right? So that's what you have to do. So you just need to like you need to sit down, try to rewind all the things that you've done and why you've done
Yeah.
and how you've done, write down in a piece of paper, streamline it well, and put it out in a portfolio as a process. That should work, right? So
Yes.
it's good. Say it's just that again, you have a process, like for example, if you have to do a portfolio, you have certain things like you need to understand the problem statement first. There are only headings. Matter has to be filled by you. You need to understand the problem statement. You need to understand why you like understand how did you understand the problem statement, what you've done, did you do any research, and then you explain the process you have done for it. How did you validate, and then at the end you say like what all you have learned, right? What are your learnings? So these are just the headings. Content and all you have to frame it yourself. The more organic you frame it, the more value it provides because it's easy for you to
More
explain.
organic, the more organic.
Yeah.
There's one small trick I'll tell you guys. Note this down because you're all asking tips and tricks, right? Be imperfect. Imperfection is what brings your uniqueness. Put it as a poster in your on the walls. My imperfection brings my uniqueness.
Yeah.
Be imperfect and then done. Like, because the good part in UX is people give feedback. If something is wrong, people give feedback. And we add that in our case study saying, this is the feedback I got and these are
Yeah.
the changes I've done.
The
And it
best
adds to the even better.
the best part is like
Right?
no work of your goals for a toss. Like everything can be put. It's just that
Yeah.
difficult for you to like go back and remind what you've done. Like you have lots of work after a few years, but like every piece of thing works, right? That's why I've told you, right? Every interview, every task I do, every assignment I perform for a thing, I'll keep it safe, and I do it like I do a project because I can show it on my next thing, right? So it's very easy. Your work speaks. After some point of time, you don't need to worry. Your work speaks. So you just only for the first few months, you need to first few jobs, you need to struggle to explain things to people like why you're doing this, like how well you're connected to it, and what value you can bring. After that, that story is anyways there. This why, what value, and all that stories anyways will be there with you. On top of it, your work starts speaking. So just keep this in mind, right? So just if you did something on your own, then you should not have a problem. Communication is not language, so don't get confused by that. So even if you don't know the right terminologies or right languages, you can still communicate what you've done. So don't worry about that.
Awesome. Yeah. So
Very
Anand
fine.
Gaurav says, what if I can't show my project to outside in that scenario? How to talk about your project and explain yourself? So yeah, Harish, you
I
might
can
give
I I can give like so much. I worked on agencies. I worked with agencies, right? So I can't really have. I
all
can't just.
agencies in NDA. Nothing.
My first slide would be like all this work is strictly under NDAs. Please don't use it for your own purpose or something on your own for your own benefit. So obviously these NDAs and these disclaimers help you a lot, and that's why you. So there are ways you don't put it on an open platform. Obviously not like a Behance or a Dribble thing. You make your own PDF, so you can just comfortably say that you have strict NDAs under your work. So you won't be able to share it, or you can share it with a passport protector link, or probably you can say like you can share it over a call. But that's how it is, right? So you can make that process ready. There are multiple ways of sharing it. You can share you, but if you have issues sharing over a public profile, probably you need to make it password protected or like get on a call and then present your work. So that should work.
Yeah, awesome. So let's also see. We've already answered about startup companies versus agencies and all these things.
Go for it. Anything, both of them. Startup or design agency, whichever gives you first job, go for it. Design
Yeah,
agency is another story. Like they'll be on your toes. So is startup, but you will learn a lot. Just be open for the few months, man. Few jobs. Just be open. Take all the feedback. It will help you in the end. Awesome.
yeah. Uh, Asila here, one of the growth school students. Is there any special skill sets that UI/UX designer requires? That of a graphic designer, product designer, any other designers for that matter. Firstly, Ashila, I would just call it UX design. You need not specifically call UI part of the entire UX design separately as UI/UX. So you can just call it UX design. But then let's look at, yeah, Harish.
See, skills, yeah, skills as in like I would say, I'll tell you what a graphic designer does. So graphic design, see the thing is the skills that UX design requires is pretty much like you being reasonable, you being empathetic and stuff like that. And those are basically like your personality things. So these are like what I would say. Apart from that, skills or tools, yeah, obviously UX UI has a different school, different tools, like different softwares to learn. Graphic designer has a different software to learn. So is product designer. So each of these, so each of these have different skill sets. So I wouldn't. I told you, right? If you're specific, I didn't understand by the word skill you meant the softwares or stuff like that, or you're talking about any personality related stuff, personality traits and stuff. But if you ask specifically about skills, yeah, everybody deals like graphic designer uses different tools, product designer and UX designer basically they use similar tools. So again, it depends on the project. You might have to learn something new. You might have to learn let's say if you're working on a data product. So at the end, the goal of the product designer or UX designer is to solve the problem, right? And for that, you might need to dig down, understand products. I never thought I would understand something about coding or something, and right now I'm working on machine learning stuff. So I had no other option. I have to sit and understand. It's going to take some time, but the thing is, like, you have to convert it, right? Whatever technical knowledge you are taking it by understanding the product, you have to convert them into the design language. For example, if you're consuming something in form of content, you need to see how you can put it in terms of design. So that is how that's what makes you a good designer, I would say. Like if you could take any, then it's just it's just the information that you take, and then it's just the design that you provide, and that information could be of any field, any domain. You know how to like bifurcate stuff and then like provide solution to that. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So, Ashila, I hope this really helps you,
Yeah, this
right?
answers the question.
So, react if you are, if you have got some clarity into this,
Yeah.
right? Uh, but yeah, Sheila, uh, always remember that you are a problem solver, whatever field of design you are in. As long as you have that, the core of your heart, uh, I don't think you really require any special skill, right?
Yeah.
Just be original to solving problems, and I think you're like sorted. But yeah, so thank you very much for that. Okay, so the last 5 minutes, what we always do is we do a rapid fire round, uh, right, where the audience asks quick questions on this versus that, and uh,
I have to
the
validate.
guest comes in.
I have to give reasons of why I've picked something.
Uh, Ideally, you don't get so much time, but
That's
let's
good.
see.
That's good.
So, so guys, any quick rapid fire questions to Harish? This versus that. Keep it
And
coming on the chat.
this is my first rapid fire, by the way, in my, so be nice to me.
So while you get to that, so guys, please don't forget to
Did
like,
Anudeep worked in Amazon? Anudeep is working in Amazon, yes. Do you think
so
the form of your mobiles will change in the near future, foldables or rollables? If yes, how would it impact the UX design aspect? Is it a rapid fire? Anudeep versus Harish, you should say, bro. Adobe XD versus Figma Sketch. NIT Calicut rocks. Proud of Harish. Who is that? Oh shit, my friend.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro, thanks. I guess you're my friend, yeah. But yeah, thanks. Honeywell or Amazon? Honeywell for other reasons, but yeah, not about the company, but other reasons, yeah. Figma or XD Sketch. I don't use both, bro. I'm trying to transition myself for Figma. So yeah. Anything else? This is nice, man.
Come on, come on, come on.
UI or UX? UX. Sketch for Apple, right?
But what are UX? I don't understand that question itself. But yeah.
Am I inclined towards UI or UX? Okay, yeah, I'm more inclined towards UX. Associate designer means some fancy name for like designer with 1 to 3 years of experience, I would say. Animation versus UX or UL. I don't know what's UL, bro.
What
Okay.
is UL?
Sketch is for Apple, right? Yes, Sketch is for Apple. Animation versus UX. UX. Flight or invisibility. What is that?
No idea.
UX
Suraj
or
sir, you have to
product
explain
design.
that. But
UX or product design. UX, product design, both. It's all
do
same.
you want the power of light, or do you want the power of invisibility? Which one would you choose?
Invisibility is creepy. I would fly rather. So yeah. So
Yeah.
like working more for Android or iOS. I work for both, and right now I'm working on web. More comfortable because it gives you more space, so you don't really need to worry about fitting content in small screens. Why
Testing or
you
not testing?
testing or not testing? Yeah, definitely testing if I get the chance. But yeah, why UX? Why not UX, man? Difference between UX and UI. It's more or less the same. UX is more like a what do you say skeleton kind of a thing. UI is more like a skin of a body. I've received 100 messages today. Okay, shit. Right, restream has actually posted. Coding or no coding? No coding, bro. I can't code. Stakeholder interview or contextual inquiry? Huh, I have to Google what's contextual inquiry. But yeah, but I got what you're trying to say. I would say I would do both. Cooking or coding? Cooking. Even if I know coding, I would do cooking only. Working for a company versus mentoring in growth school. Tough question, Nirmala. This is student. Both. Actually, I'm quite enjoying this. So I like both actually. 3D or AR? AR, I would say. AR is also 3D, by the way. Mobile first or different approach. Mobile first. I've made a huge mistake of not doing mobile first and then have to do a lot of rework after that. Dark versus light UI. Dark when I'm using it in daylight, light when I'm using it in night.
Yeah.
Problem or solution? Problem always. Swiggy or Zomato, whichever gives me better offer, bro. Being in India or working abroad. Working abroad. That's my next checklist. So, does UI designer need to know coding? Not necessarily. Flipkart or Amazon? Amazon. I should say that. Oh, this is good.
But yeah.
You guys had fun.
So that was wonderful, Harish. People, I really love the last part of this call always. So
Yeah,
thank you very much. Thank you very much, Harish, for the wonderful session. Before I say anything else, please don't forget to subscribe, share this video, and keep attending more and more of these sessions, which
yeah.
encourages us to be more experts, to
Sure.
basically to just make them relate to what your situation is today and inspire you, right? So yeah, subscribe to us. But yeah,
Sure.
thank you so much, Harish. This session was like really joyful. You were like so original, so like totally relatable. There's nothing big, no jargon, nothing fancy, right? Down
Even
to
if I
earth. So
try to
that's
use
what,
some, right, I can't. Yeah.
especially things like contextual inquiry versus what was that brand man saying? Whatever brand. Uh,
Contextual inquiry was something else, man.
yeah, sorry, bro, never use such things.
I had
So
to go. That's how I figure out
beauty of
stuff as well, right? So the whole purpose of design is actually to make things simple. So why complex by using different words, right?
yeah.
So yeah.
So
Anyways,
uh, that was really good, Harish. That really proves how realistic you are and how you solve problems and how you create impact without really being any artificial or whatever, right?
yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Harish. It
So there's
was
some more questions coming. I just
yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to
The people
Flipkart and Amazon.
always
Amazon. UI wise, Mintra or Amazon. Mintra. Sunil or Surya. Sachin,
so
you have to go now. UX have some coding as well. Not really. No. Best UI design
Harish,
portfolios. Google it.
why do
You'll
you have this session right from the starting? I could have done only this.
Yeah, well, this is good. No, this is quick and this is fun. Best UI
Stop this.
design portfolios. Copy and paste it in Google. You'll find some. Five fidelity wireframing or low fidelity wireframing. Go always with low. High fidelity, yeah. Low fidelity, of course. Crypto versus mutual funds. Mutual funds, obviously, it's tax saving, man. Lots of insight. Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. I mean, UX doesn't have any coding, by the way. So yeah, finally, I think it's time to conclude, and I'm free. Actually, I was like, I know I've overspoke a little today, but usually I don't. People who
No, no,
already have attended my sessions would know. I just
yeah,
Yeah, it's awesome actually to see. This is my whole. I still remember when you first called me, like thinking of if you want to put something like growth school, and I'm happy for that because I know how. So and you were really supportive back in those days, like back in Amazon, and also it was really nice for you to do something of this sort, and I'm really happy to give back to my community, right? And this is what, right? So
that's the
you seek validation at different stages of your life, and after 4 years, this is the validation I could get from all these people being helped by us, and I'm really happy for that. And that somehow gives me a pat in the back saying like I've done the right thing. Probably we still have years to figure out, but yeah, it's great
that's exactly
actually.
what Harish.
Yeah,
Students for life, right? As you always say, hashtag student for life, S4L. But yeah,
yeah,
Harish, you are always a living example of that.
sure.
But that's so awesome. Thank you so much. And Harish, thank you so much for the time. I know 1.5 hours, 2 hours is not easy
Yeah,
for an expert at your level, but thank you so much. And by the way, we're not paying them as well. So
no,
thank
no,
you so much. And also thank you so much for the enthusiasm you're showing, trying, wanting to do more and more. So
definitely, definitely.
thank you so much. Please follow Harish as well. Harish, just whatever channels you are in and all, just put it out. People can maybe just go to LinkedIn and follow you. All those people who are asking questions, are you working
How
in
do I? How?
Amazon? Is this guy really from Amazon? Just go to LinkedIn and search, guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, this is where your initial step of UX starts, right? If you have a problem, go figure out, find a solution. So figure out if we are like original enough. But yeah, I'm going to share my LinkedIn profile, so you guys can reach out to me over there. So I don't know if is this the orange one that I have to. Okay, send us a message. Okay,
Yeah, just send your profile
how do I do it?
link over here. Just
Where?
paste
How,
the just paste the link.
link? I mean, in that orange chat thing, private chat. Okay, you gonna paste it, right?
Yeah,
Please do.
yeah, just give it here. I'll also paste.
So that's my LinkedIn profile. You can figure
So
out.
that's
I'm
Harish.
trying. Yeah, that's my
Please go
LinkedIn. Yeah.
and reach out to Harish.
You can pretty much
Very
type
helpful
that
person.
name. Yeah, you can pretty much type that name in Insta or LinkedIn or wherever it is. I'm trying to build a brand of my own. Just kidding. But yeah. So yeah. Anyways, so this is really nice. Oh, thanks, man. You followed me. Nice. So, anyways, so awesome. I mean, thank you so much for this. I mean, this is really helpful for me as well. Like to see a lot of people showing interest, like getting back into design. And don't worry. I mean, just be reasonable. This is all I would say. You just be reasonable enough. Like always try to understand the why of it. If somebody said something is wrong, like somebody says you do shitty design, be happy about it and always ask the why of it, right? So just be reasonable persons. And actually, I have seen myself turned out to be a better person in life while I was doing, because it's just that, see, right? This is the only job in the world, by the way, that pays you for overthinking. All your life, you're gonna like think about others and you get paid for it. That's the best part. So usually people say overthinking is bad and all, but no. In this UX, if you're overthinker, you should be helpful. Okay. Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Definitely, Harish. You know what you should do? You should start doing live on your LinkedIn, and I'm sure a lot of people would be willing to listen.
I don't
So,
know,
and you
man.
should.
Yeah. I'm
Awesome.
cool.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Good night. Student for life. Please subscribe, share this video, like, and whatever, and support us. Thank you very much. Yep.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.